So, welcome to Median Arts, and today we're going to be explaining how I got from this fully finished drawing, um, how I started it off as a concept, and bringing it from how I got from this to this. So, I started off as any idea starts as an idea of what it is that I want to do. Now, honestly, it doesn't really, like, depending on your art skills, you could have more like refined rough sketches or more rough sketches. But I don't think you should be like hard on yourself at all in the beginning steps when you plan a drawing. You could literally just do a stick figure. I mean, I quite literally just did like a simple line of action and a stick figure. I mean, almost essentially. Um, but from here, this was like the pose that I wanted. I wanted her to be standing very dynamic with a pose, and I wanted her to be carrying like some kind of sword here and then like a shield over here. So from there, I kind of just experimented with different sort of poses that she might be doing, and kind of like where on the floor should be standing, and a little bit of perspective stuff. I still have to work on perspective a lot more. That's something that I haven't studied enough of. I do know, perspective, but I need to practice a lot more with that. But anyways, so I got from all these poses, and I felt like this was the one that really struck these two. This line of action, which for those of you who don't know, a line of action is basically where the spine goes along, and it kind of tells you like how the character's action is going. A lot of this is used in animation, so that's something that I picked up from animation, to know what your line of action is before you even get to the final drawing or planning of things. So this was the pose that I stuck with for a while. So I thought, okay, and I also looked around for some inspiration, which, for example, I got this book. I didn't actually buy it just now. I mean, like, I've had it around, and it's 1,000 pinup poses. So I covered it here so YouTube doesn't like flag my video or anything. But yeah, this is just like pinup poses, and 1,000 of them. It's just to kind of get ideas of what it is that I want to draw, and maybe some like, I do want to use some of these poses just to kind of either get inspired or maybe do some similar poses or this and that for my comic book characters. So yeah, so this was an idea that I had, and it did give me some inspiration. Another thing that gave me inspiration was this sort of this book on action poses and art models, because these are this book is specifically made for having literal poses for drawing. So these are made for animators. I'll show you a page briefly. Hopefully there's a page that I can show you, because some of these, okay. So here's an example. They have like action poses. So I wanted to see what kind of action poses that I wanted to draw, or what kind of dynamic thing that I wanted to work with. So that's that. So anyways, I went from this, I thought, okay, this is it. This is the final concept, right? And from there, I said, okay, let's go with that. So I did. And here's the second sketch. I mean, technically you can call this like the second, like, I felt like this was like the final idea of what I wanted to do, and I really solidified it. Now, how did I even like draw this? I can't draw like the muscles that well from memory. I can to an extent, but not like all the legs and everything. So what I do lately is I use this thing called an écorché. An écorché, I'll show you, is a statue that has the muscle anatomy. It's actually censored, so I guess YouTube will allow it, but I just want to just cover a little bit of it. It has all the muscles and all the details of the human body. And as an artist, this is super, super important for you to have. I would say, like, without an écorché, I can't draw just to the extent of detail, right? Because I have every single little muscle. And I know you can study anatomy books or memorize some of it, but I feel like an écorché is literally just a 3D thing. You can look all around and literally from any possible angle. It's not the same to have something two-dimensional versus 3D. You know what I mean? You could also have a 3D model on the computer, but I think I like traditional styles. So that's kind of what I went with. So actually here, I'll get the egg crochet out to show you. So with that, I used the muscles here, and I kind of looked all around the body, all the muscles here, and see where these muscles apply to her. And, you know, for this effeminate, sort of slim, well, not slim, but, you know, I guess slimmer body type, this is actually kind of a similar body type to the one Wonder Woman has here. Because this is like without the skin or fat of the body, so it looks kind of like this is a person without the fats and the skin over it, so it's just pure muscle. But you know, obviously, once you have a real human, you're gonna need to make it look more organic in the sense of having skin on top and fat on top and this and that. So, anyways, I used that to see where all these muscles go to have a more refined figure. I had her holding her lasso of truth, and I had her shield here as a concept, and I felt like it just wasn't working for me, this pose. I did really like it at first, but then I thought, you know what, let me change it. So again, I went back to the book. I even went on, skimmed through like the different comic book artworks and things just to kind of get an idea of what it was that I wanted. So I did one final pose, which I'll show you here. And I felt like I finally stuck with this one. So this was the pose that really did it for me. It felt more dynamic. It felt more Wonder Woman. It felt more empowering. It felt like a lot of things that her as a character embodies. And so I really felt like that. So whenever you do artwork, keep in mind that there's a lot of storytelling aspect to it. I saw this... I have an art book, and I can't remember the name of the artist right now. I'll try to, if I remember, I'll put it in the description. But this artist was saying that you need to be able to have a... oh my god, I forgot what I was saying. I'll remember that in a second. Anyways, yeah, so this was the kind of like dynamic pose that I wanted for her. So, you know, she has her lasso of truth, and her hair flowing, and the muscles, you know, showing, because, you know, it really depends what version of the character you're drawing, but I do tend to want her to show more muscle whenever she's drawn. So I feel like in the version I drew, I could have made her even more big, I suppose. But, you know, this is kind of like what it ended up being. So from this sketch, how did I get from the one that I showed earlier? So from here, I really used a lot of reference to get to the final pencils, right? So what references did I use? First of all, like I said, I used this book. I'll show you a page from it. I have to kind of do this off camera just to show you, but here is one of the poses that I got inspired by. And also, let's cover some of that just to... And I also got this pose as an inspiration. So that was like something, I really liked the way the legs looked from like a lower angle. So I thought that was interesting. So what other references did I use? I used this Wonder Woman Outlaw Volume 1 book. Really good book, by the way, by Tom King. But, you know, not to go off topic. So this was the version of Wonder Woman that I wanted to do, because I noticed that as a comic book artist, not only do you need to draw the character, but you need to know how to draw all these things on top of the character. So first, you draw the outline of the character. Then you add the gauntlets and the body armor and whatnot afterwards. So, you know, you need to reference metal. You need to learn how to draw cloth. I wouldn't be too hard on yourself on that. Just learn things as you go along. Challenge yourself a little bit, but don't challenge yourself so much that you get overwhelmed and you feel like you can't draw, right? If you're more of a beginner artist, I wouldn't recommend challenging yourself too much, because it gets very overwhelming very easily, you know? if you don't draw that often, you need to draw something that you're comfortable with, that you're familiar with, and just a bit of a challenge. And then from there, you start getting more used to it. Anyways, so I had some reference pictures here, and I needed to know what she looked like from different angles, especially full body shots like this. So I really needed to have that in mind. And yeah, so I went from this and to the final drawing, which I'll show you in a second. Fully finished drawing, and I'll zoom in a bit to get the details here. And there's a lot of detail. I just wanted to emphasize that I took my time with this. I didn't do this in a day. I took a week on this, although I did it throughout the week, a few hours at a time. If I would have worked on it like all day throughout the days, then I could have probably finished this in maybe 2-3 days. But this is kind of like an ambitious project for me. This is something that I haven't really done as much, and I've been kind of understanding and building my comic book style. So I really wanted to emphasize that. So here for the... Okay, so what did I start with? First of all, I got a blue pencil. You can see the pencil lines here, right? I mean, you can see... So it's not just any blue pencil, it's a specific one. I have it right here. So to know the specific one that I got a Staedtler Austria blue pencil. It could be any blue pencil that's made for this. It has a waxy texture. And the reason for that is that when you draw with a blue pencil, it's not that easy to erase, but since it's more of a wax material, when you put pencil on top of it, it doesn't mix with the blue pencil. You know what I mean? So you use this to make the rough outline on the paper, and then you start drawing with graphite over it, and it doesn't mix together when you use this specific pencil. So not only that, shaking the camera a bit too much, sorry. Not only that, but I use this, it's called a lead holder. And a lead holder, I'll explain that in a second. It holds your lead, self-explanatory. But I need to explain how this thing is sharpened and why it's so important as a comic book artist. We'll get to that in a sec. So, how did I do the body? Well, as explained, I worked with an écorché, which is this statue right here. So, as you can see, a lot of the details here, I literally went in and just looked at all the muscles, how they would look like from this angle. You see what I mean? How I kind of twist it and then just twist here. And then I'm like, okay, how does this look here? And then how does this look here? And then how does this look over here? And it's not just the écorché, you know, it's not easy to just draw what you see. So you have to have practice and experience as well as an artist. If you want to do more advanced things, it's not like you just get the écorché and then boom, like you could draw instantly. It's more of just practicing with time. But this is a very, very helpful tool that I use. So another écorché that I use, that I bought, is this one. This one is just the anatomy of the head. And I'll show you here all the details. Why are these details important? It's so that you know what goes on under the skin, right? When you see human skin is very clear and very smooth compared to the rough outlines of the muscles, right? Even with people have older skin, it does get loose, it does get wrinkled. However, it doesn't show this detail of the muscles and such. And this is a bit of fat on the face. So that's interesting to see. And cartilage and all these things. So I use this to sort of reference the kind of pose I wanted to do. So this is an écorché. This one was labeled as female Asian. I have one also labeled as black African. I have them of two different ethnicities so that, you know, I can vary my character designs and such. So yeah, I use that. And with this lead holder pencil, I can make a separate video explaining my tools, but essentially this lead holder pencil, when you sharpen it, it's almost like using a mechanical pencil, except the lead actually moves around. It can fall off, and it just holds the lead. It doesn't push it like a mechanical pencil. So, you know, you do these broad strokes like this, and it's a lot easier to work with a comic book style. Actually, most comic book artists do work with a lead holder, to my knowledge, that I've seen. So yeah, anyways, getting to the lasso of truth, that was one of the final things that I did. First, I wanted to have a layout of the body. Then I added the armor. Here, this was a bit of a challenge to see where these knee pads go and the boots and everything. And then I added the hair, then the face. So things that you're not comfortable drawing or that you find challenging, it's okay to leave them a bit later, you know? Hands are a bit hard for me to do. You could kind of see a little bit here that I struggled. So sometimes I just leave it last. Sometimes I do one hand, then go back to the stuff I like, then I do the other hand, then, you know, sometimes you have to find your own artistic process. And again, you just do this as you go along. You're not going to know everything, and that's okay. You're not supposed to. That's why we learn and practice. So for the lasso of truth, you know, I really wanted to make it long, very flowy, very dynamic. So it does kind of go off panel for a bit, and then it wraps around her arm. And I wanted it to sort of face the camera. So did a bit of perspective, you know, as it gets closer to the camera, sort of whips around and gets closer to the viewer. And, you know, at the very end of it, it gets further from the viewer. So, yeah, that is the... Oh, also, I should explain this, but this is a specific table that is bent this way. I would recommend an architect table, simply because, like, it really does help you to draw. Because when you draw like on a regular table that's flat, you're gonna look at the table and you're gonna see this, right? You see how like it already warps the perspective. Like if I do this, for example, it's not the same as like this perspective, or you know. So that's why it's important to have a table that's kind of diagonally tilted upwards in order to really show that. But anyways. I guess that would be it. That's all the explanation I have for today. So I hope you enjoyed this video, and I hope you learned something from this, and we'll see you on the next one.